It does look like Councilmember Keithley is going to be joining us in person, so she might be here in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, yeah, we can get started through the formalities here.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, we are live and ready.
Okay, sounds good. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting of the Seldovia City Council, Monday, February 23rd, 2026. Time is 6:14 p.m. and we'll go ahead and do roll call. Barber?
Here.
Keithley? Oh, she's on her way down, so I'll skip her for now. Langbart?
Here.
Coleman?
Here.
Taylor?
Here.
And Peyton?
Here.
Okay, currently we have 5 out of 6 members present, waiting on Keithley. So we do have a quorum and enough to get started. And Liz or Heidi, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and
justice for all.
For which it stands, you gotta say. Left that part out.
Okay, thank you. Excuse absences, none at the moment. Agenda approval. I'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I
I'll
second that.
That motion.
Oh,
Okay, we
sorry.
have a motion by Harmony to approve tonight's agenda. We have a second by Taylor. Any further discussion on the agenda before we vote? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's agenda. All those in favor, Barber,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
Motion is 5 in the affirmative, none opposed, and 1 currently absent. Next item is item E, consent agenda. All items under the consent agenda are approved with a single motion, no discussion, and 1 vote. A council member may request to remove an item for discussion and a separate vote. Items removed from the consent agenda will be placed under new business. Tonight's consent agenda has 1 item on it. That's the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting from February 9th, 2026. Does any member wish to remove any item at this time? Okay, hearing none, let's let the record reflect that Councilmember Keithley has joined us. So we are in full attendance with all of our members. I'll go ahead and look for a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda. Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda by Langbart. We have a second by Peyton. Any further discussion on tonight's consent agenda before we vote? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of tonight's consent agenda. All those in favor, Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
Motion passes, 6 in the affirmative, 0 opposed. All right, that'll take us down to mayoral proclamations, none this evening. Item G, public presentation, prior notice. None. Let's see, just to confirm, Liz, Zapatowski's are going to be under public presentation for under item H.
It's your choice, Mr. Mayor. You can put them.
Okay.
Either
Yeah,
place.
let's just go ahead and we'll have them do come up on H. That's fine.
Okay.
So let's see. Public presentations, prior notice, none. And then item H, public presentations for items not on the agenda. And do we have anyone that wishes to speak tonight?
My name is Joe Zapatowski, and I'm here with my wife Marilyn, and we live on 355 Eider Lane, and our water line from the city has been frozen for over 3 weeks. The house is good, the house is okay. I winterized the house and everything, so the house is fine. Anyway, I learned a little, actually a lot of pretty much where my water line is froze at. Because I got down into the crawl space and disconnected my house plumbing from my 1-inch line. And I was able to insert a 1/4-inch OD plastic tubing. I had quite a length of it down the 1-inch pipe. And I was able to insert enough to where I measured out was the blockage was the actual valve. So anyway, I tried harder to get it through. You know, I spent quite a bit of time down there trying to get it through. So I'm absolutely sure the blockage was the city valve. And so I think it's safe to say that the blockage is somewhere between the valve in the city main. The city main that runs down Eider Street. So anyway, the wife and I are being told that we're not only responsible from the house to the valve, we're also responsible from the valve to the city main. Well, we agree with the we're responsible for the part that goes to the first valve from our house, but we don't agree with the continuation of that line that goes out to the city main. Why would somebody want to accept responsibility for that line from the valve to the city main when they had no insight to the project? They had no quality control. They had no idea what went in there, what didn't go in there, how deep was the water line put in. Everything I know about depths of water lines in Alaska, minimum of 4 feet with sufficient insulation on top of the line. We don't know if we have that. I have a receipt here with me dated July 15th, 2014 from the city of Seldovia for the material for the water and sewer line. And it's $3,893. And there's no mention whatsoever of any insulation that goes with this material. So I'd have to say that it's not insulated. And how deep it is, I don't know. I have a valve here that I brought with me for a little show and tell. This is what they look like if nobody ever seen one. It's a pretty simple ball valve. It's a 1-inch ball valve. This is a 1/4 turn valve here that opens and shuts it. Clockwise shuts the valve. It's open right now, but you can see through it. And counterclockwise turns it on. And this is what I was stopped at when I was trying to push that plastic tubing through here. It stopped here somewhere. So I don't know if this is frozen or this one passed through. So it's from this end to the city main somewhere. This valve here has an in and an out. This would be in from the city water, and this goes to my house. And there's a little weep hole here. So when this is closed, it's supposed to weep, water's supposed to weep out of here from this valve to your house. Not the other way, because there's pressure on that. That goes to the city main. I didn't need anything like that because my pipe didn't freeze up. It's sufficiently insulated. So anyway, that's about all I have. One other thing, I guess, I talked to the contractor that put my water line in from my house to the valve here. And I asked him, how you do this? How do you step by step? And he says, first he digs a sufficient trench, 4 foot plus, and he puts a bed of gravel, pea gravel in there and rakes it out by hand, the whole ditch, and rakes it evenly. And then he puts 2-inch blue board on top of that. So, and then he backfills at the very last, he backfills it. So that's why my water line didn't freeze up. It's sufficiently insulated. I mean, so that's all I got. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I guess obviously there's a little more at play here. Heidi, what does our code currently, how is that worded? Or, what's the wording on the responsibility then currently?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in Title 13, it's 13.04080, Maintenance Responsibility, SWU, that's the Seldovia Water Utility, will maintain and repair all main and all service connections that have been accepted for maintenance and operation by SWU. SWU will not be responsible for damages produced or costs incurred prior to acceptance of the system for operation. The customer is responsible for maintaining and repairing the water extension, which is from the key box to the premises. SWU will be responsible for thawing frozen mains, and the customer shall be responsible for thawing frozen water connections and water extensions, which is from the key box to the main, from the main, and it says that, thawing frozen water connections and water extensions from the main to the premises, unless the freezing of the extension or connection was caused by an act of SWU not in conformance with these rules or regulations. I've spoken with the Zapatowskis multiple times, have not charged any kind of payment for our services to help, have just tried to be as available as we can in order to remedy this issue temporarily. And at this time, the Public Works was able to build a box around the fire hydrant that is near their property and insulate it and connect a hose to the fire hydrant and then into the premises where it's supposed to remain running. So that they have water at this time. And it is on the list for the spring or summer as the schedule gets going to dig up that area, check what the condition of that water extension is and make sure that it's insulated. We do realize that it being in the road, potential shallow depth, and potentially the fact that it's HDPE, and if it wasn't insulated correctly, which I can't ascertain that. And from talking with people who were on the project in the past, we don't have full awareness of that. So the next step would be to dig and ensure that that pipe is insulated and protected moving forward so we don't have this issue again.
Okay, so on this, so up there at the top of the circle, then where Joe's house is at, there's a key box on the Zapatowski's side of the street. Is that how that works? Out, Joe, from your house out to the edge of the street, is there a key box right there? Probably it's probably in the right of way, or is it all the way? Does it go all the way back over to the corp stop back on the other side of wherever the water line's located at?
The key stop is on our property line.
It's on your property line. Okay. And then is there another box over at the corp stop where it was actually tied into the main?
Not that we are aware of.
Okay. Okay, so there's once that hot tap's done, then they just backfill over the top of that. Depending on depending if it was a hot tap or depending if it, yeah, I don't know what that looks like. Were you able to find, as-built? You weren't able to find an as-built on that?
We typically don't have as-built for services, and that's why, not why, but part of the reason why moving forward, the utility has elected to not install those portions of the services and to have a contractor do it as well. Just it's the savings for both the utility and the property owner, and making sure it's a complete project all the way through. But I can't really speak to what happened in 2014 with this installation. Moving forward, hoping that we can remedy that so that it doesn't happen again.
Okay, yeah, and that's something we should take a look at our code too, just to make sure. So now for typically when a developer comes in and, does a new subdivision or something like that, whether it's the community or a developer, they'll run the new water line, and then the water line will be spidered out typically it's going to be under the road with the sewer. The extensions will come off of that main. They'll go out to the key boxes before houses are ever even built, right? They'll just go out to the key boxes located on the property. This is before you have driveways or anything. So all of that main infrastructure is part of the main water and sewer. And then when whoever builds the house, whether it's the homeowner or the contractor, they'll go out and they'll leave colored pieces of wood sticking up out of the ground as markers. And then either the contractor or the homeowner, whoever's building, makes their tie-in at those junction points, the key box and or the sewer tie-in on their property. And then that's where they would typically be responsible to. Obviously, it's a little different in our code. Just something we should take a look at for possibly future consideration. Obviously this has been this way for 40 or 50 years, however it's been in play here. But yeah, if you guys have a plan going forward, I think that's a good idea. This spring we get that chunk of road. That's not paved, right? That's all dirt there still, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
right.
That's all dirt. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea to get in there and get that opened up. And yeah, given where we're at with the frost depth right now, I think that's the best we can do is getting water from the hydrant here. Obviously, I appreciate that. That work around here now. Joe and Marilyn, are you guys good with that for now? I realize there's not a lot we can do with these. It's my understanding that the city was gonna try to work with an outfit in Homer too to come up with something else, but that didn't. It was a little farther than their equipment could deal with to try to get that defrosted for you.
Yeah, I'm Marilyn. I live with him. But, Heidi sort of got onto it too. There's no knowledge of anything, how it was put in. There's no knowledge of how deep the lines were put in. There's no knowledge of how much insulation was used, whether it was metal or it was non-metal material for the water line. Nobody can tell us for sure if the tracer line that is on the line will thaw out a non-metal pipe. We sort of think maybe it would, because it would be generating some sort of heat. But again, nobody can say for sure. And I'm not blaming this on the city. I think this comes back from the forefathers. and I'm very thankful to Heidi and John and Amanda for getting water to us, and for Heidi's diligence to try to get thawing machines and type of machines that the city could have for this type of thing. I'm not going to go through my whole spew because pretty much it's all been said. But one thing I can say is in Fairbanks in 2002, we had a rainstorm in November, and the roads came very icy, very treacherous. And everybody said, this has never happened before. It probably won't ever happen again. It happens every year now. people are saying now this is an unusual winter. It's colder than normal. It's probably not gonna happen again. Folks, it will happen again. And if the proper insulation isn't on these water lines, we're gonna have more water lines froze up. And so I'm happy to hear that Heidi says that it's on the works to have something done. The other thing I'd like to say is if there is a work order that goes out for somebody to have a new connection, and I don't know what happens when the work order comes back, but all that should be put into some type of information on a hard drive or whatever that can be accessed, that the workers put it in at a such depth, use such insulation, heat, had a heat tape on it if it was non-metal or whatever it takes, but that should all be in there. I agree with Heidi that maybe it's best for the homeowner to have their own contractor hook it up and, you know, and put it in than for the city to do it. Cause then you know, the homeowner would have records of how it was put in.
Nope, I agree. I think we need to look at that comprehensively. Ironically, we did have an opportunity here a number of years ago, and I was on the losing side of that, but we did have an opportunity to have our entire system mapped. And there were some other things that came in there with costs and stuff, but it was a pretty neat concept to have the entire system mapped, and then you could digitally see where every single valve was at, every single, access to service, and then you had the ability to go and attach photos to that point, so you could conceivably do all this electronically rather than, have a couple thousand pieces of paper floating around the office. So, but yeah, technology, it is out there and available, obviously now to make water and sewer life a lot more easier for everyone. When something like this happens and you're able to go back and look at documentation and or even just to find stuff in the middle of winter, when it's under snow and ice. So. Yeah, we'll continue to work with you guys, figure out what it's going to take to get that fixed. And yeah, we got another cold snap coming up here in a couple days, so it looks like it's going to be a nasty one again. Everybody better be prepared for that one. Hopefully that water will stay going for you guys there. So, but yeah, we'll stay in touch, and then obviously you guys continue to work through Heidi, and then as a council, when we can get a little deeper into that and take a look at our code language and see if we need to make some changes or any recommended improvements.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you guys for coming in tonight. Jack, you got something?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I was part of hauling all the pipe in here when we put the water system in, and Dan Randolph was a contractor. And I put in, I don't know how many of those curb stops through Anchorage, Fairbanks, working underground utilities. And the bleeder valve, it does what it's supposed to do. When you turn that off, the line is supposed to bleed the line to your house. Typically, utility companies are responsible for the main line to the property. That's why your curb stop should be about 5 feet inside property line, typically. Okay. When this was done, and you have city inspectors or borough inspectors, so when we put the install in, they look at it, and there's minimum depths because of the frost codes and things that are supposed to. In the ductile iron pipe, we put continuity straps from one joint because it's a slip joint. Now, I know that we've had issues with copper pipe. It's unfortunate that when this system was put in, Seldovia has inherited this problem. And whether they've got the proper bury on the lines, the service lines, the insulation, now we have to pay for it. Historically, typically utility companies are responsible from the main line to the property. And I can appreciate where you're at here, but what happens with these curb stops, if they don't get any activity on them, they can corrode up, they'll break off, they won't work, and now you're stuck. I think some of the copper, because we have in our chlorination of this is hard on copper and corrosion, or they went to a plastic or PVC. um, Jeremiah, can you add to that? If we replace a lot of the copper, I have copper on mine, I know that. And what's the positive thing is you can hook a welder to it and unthaw the line. But if you go to synthetic, you don't have that option anymore. So it's either gonna in jetting or things thawing. So I don't know where we're at there.
Yeah,
but
on the HDPE, if you don't get it insulated good enough, the only other option, and we install a lot of utilities around the state, is you got to heat trace it. You actually have to run a heat trace line,
yeah,
right alongside it, and it's got to be insulated. And when you it's usually a 5 or 6 watt per foot heat trace, so and you can either turn. Most of them are put on. A lot of them are self-regulating now. You can just turn them on, and then if there's no call, it won't put heat out. But if it starts to drop below a preset temperature, then it'll start producing heat in that section of the line. So yeah, but if you don't plan for that, just putting a straight plastic pipe in, the HDPE, there's really no other way to get that thing, defrosted. Um, yeah, short of waiting for spring. It sounds like this guy in Homer may have come up with something. And yeah, like Joe, like what you were doing is taking that off, inserting a 1/4 inch down there. I mean, yeah, you could hook a jetter with hot water up to that. You could certainly do something there, but boy, you'd have a lot of water coming back out the end at you, and you'd probably have a couple 100 gallons come out of there by the time it was all said and done. But yeah, I know there's a lot of smart people that are, pretty savvy on how to get things frosted out, so or defrosted, I should say. But yeah,
I think
that's where we're at.
Jeremiah, I think what's important that our customers have a clear understanding though where the responsibility is at. And this, because we've had this same conversation with other people to make sure that, because they think, that they're responsible. And then all of a sudden they feel like they got to go dig up the curb stop, which the curb stop is part of the utility company. That's why they typically roll the copper up and you leave it hang there. And so they dig within 5 feet of the curb stop. But I think we need to make the customers aware if there is going to be a charge or if the city's going to pick it up, where the liability of this problem lies.
Yeah, Jack, you make a good point because I mean we had a lot of dirt roads in Seldovia for years, and that's fine, but that's why in the cities they do that with paved roads, right? The municipality will just make the developer put water and sewer to every single lot because the municipality inherits all of that once the initial development is done, and they don't want the roads being cut up like Swiss cheese every time someone wants to come and add a new water service or a sewer service. They're already on their property, and then that's why it's maintained out to the property. But obviously that's not the way our code was originally set up. So
Well, the interesting thing is the fire hydrant water was not froze, and it's within 6 foot of our line. And our line froze, and then the line going to the house, the extension wasn't froze. So, it just stands to reason that something wasn't right. Either wasn't
Yeah.
deep enough, or wasn't insulated, or both.
it's likely that hydrant too, that's going to be on a 6 or an 8 inch ductile iron line, and it's likely even a little deeper than the water line too. So hard to say, what they did back in the day when they installed all that. So, but nevertheless, we will continue to work with you guys and hopefully come up with a solution here all the way around, on code wise, and then getting your guys' water situation rectified here this spring.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, you guys.
You done?
Yep.
Liz, do we have anyone else in the
Waiting for the
audience tonight?
popcorn.
It'll get better about the middle of July.
That is all I'm seeing for public comment at this time.
Okay, sounds good. That will conclude item H. That'll take us down to item I. We don't have anything listed for tonight. Take us next to item J, administrative reports. Looks like we have the 3 written ones for finance, harbor master, and public works.
And the Public Works one, Mr. Mayor, is in the laydown.
Okay. Finance will be on page 7 of your regular packet. Heidi, is there anything else you wanted to add on to the finance report, you or Liz, or anything?
Mr. Mayor, I would just state that she does not show that transfer to the Public Works 2% of the 44. I'll get the right amount here in a second. It was, I went too far, sorry. Well, it's in the city manager's report, so I'll give you the right number when we get to it, but it doesn't show that in the finance report. But as stated in the work session, I just wanted to make sure to state that for the record here as well, that the city did transfer, it was $44,285.48 to the Public Works Fund in AMLIP from calendar year 2025, this is 2% sales tax.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, and then one note too, I see audit prep is complete, and LG Rayfield, they're starting their work for audit.
Yep, correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. How did all that go? Originally, the audit prep and fairly what you expected?
Yeah, it seemed to go. Now this is our second year working with tailored tax. I can't remember the specific name of the company, but the firm that we utilized last year to help with audit prep, she was able to work with Jan this year, and they're starting to work on quarterlies moving forward for the next year, so that things will just get better every year, and hopefully less prep, less findings and things in the audit of that nature, just an overall better audit every year. So we're anticipating some of the same findings this year from last year, but are definitely working towards remedying those in the FY26 budget.
Great, sounds good. Did anyone have any questions on the finance report tonight? Okay, we'll go and move down to the Harbor Masters report. That's going to be found on page 11 of your packet.
And speaking of Harbor, Mr. Mayor, if I could throw one more thing in about the audit report, just so everybody is aware that we were did understate the revenues or overstated the revenues on the harbor for the port fee. We're not receiving those for the portion of the dock, the SBF, the Seldovia Bay Ferry that's no longer in the harbor. So that was a little bit of a revenue loss to the city, about 12,000 that was budgeted. But we did receive the additional 11,000 from the other users. And there's still some other really good things happening in the harbor, but just that is part of that, a little bit of that loss for the harbor, and I wanted to make sure to point that out.
Okay, and just so we're clear on that, the way our code, how not to kind of dive too deep into that, but our code didn't provide for the ability to collect those fees.
So we did
outside
take
of-
it by, yeah, so we did take it by legal and the fact that it's coming onto their land and tribal land, and there is some sovereignty precedents there and such. And we could press it if we wanted to and go further into it. But it wasn't recommended at this time just because of different case law that's currently happening. But really in our fee schedule and in the ordinance, it does specify for coming into port or into Seldovia, into the Seldovia harbor and Seldovia property. So just moving forward with having that fee for city services and city property, and City Harbor.
Okay, Meg, you got a question?
I think that's Harmony.
Is that Harmony? Oh, I can't tell. They're both together there. Oh, okay. Yep. Go ahead. Or Harmony, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I was just wondering about how that how we impose those taxes and how are they implemented on planes as well, like Smoky Bay, or no?
Through the mayor, excellent question. So no, because that's the passenger fees is for passenger vessels that are coming into the harbor. So that they're using harbor services, harbor bathrooms, toilet paper, harbor wearing on that harbor dock itself is specific for harbor improvements, not for passenger planes.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, anyone on the harbor report tonight?
Heidi, I might have misunderstood. On the Jackaloff Bay, you say we can't collect fees over there because it's in tribal land? Or what did I? Can you run that by me again?
Through the mayor, no, we can collect in Jackaloff because that is city land. And so having or city leased, city infrastructure on that dock. And it is already set in code so that we can establish fees. You guys can establish fees through the probably, I would imagine, same vehicle the other fees are established. And that's the fee schedule. They haven't been collected to date because of the condition of the dock, and the limitations on the dock and the users that are using it right now. But I believe that was still the intent of the council when the new dock is implemented to be able to move forward with that discussion of user fees for that infrastructure so that there is a fund available for maintenance and repair.
Yeah, I think what Jack was asking is, so what we were talking about, Jack, is the Seldovia Bay Ferry, since they moved out of the harbor and over to their own dock, at the tribal building.
Yeah.
That's now we can't collect, passenger fees since they're over there out of the harbor.
But
Thank you.
Jackaloff Bay Dock comes onto city property, city lease, and it is city infrastructure. So that's the difference there.
All right, so if no further questions on the Harbor Master's report, next one will be the Public Works, and you said that's in the laydown?
Yes, correct. That's the first item in the laydown.
Yep, page 3.
And the report.
I think we lost your audio there for a second, Heidi.
I'm sorry. Just saying the report is short, but they've been very busy.
Yeah, looks like lots of water and sewer.
And groundwater, the amount of groundwater damage that's happening around the community inside and outside of city limits is pretty impressive.
When you say groundwater damage, what do you mean?
It's tearing up the road over on C Street, and then
Oh.
there's another area where it's pressing up on Airport Avenue, and then another area that's headed towards the dump where it's just freezing deep and the groundwater is rising, I think.
All
Yeah.
the heaving and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So it's tearing into the roads. There'll definitely be some spring projects fixing those.
Yeah. Okay, any additional questions on the Public Works report? All right, thank you for everyone for supplying those 3 reports. We'll go ahead and move on down to item K, public hearings. And we've got ordinance 26-10, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending Seldovia Municipal Code, chapters 2.04, City Council, 2.08, Mayor, 2.32, elections, to change the regular election date and provide for appointment of a mayor pro tem. And that was introduced on the February 9th meeting. And I'll go ahead and turn this over to Heidi or Liz.
I guess I'll take that one, Mr. Mayor. So this is ordinance 2610, and if you recall, the Kenai Peninsula Borough had a proposition passed that moving their elections to align with the state and federal elections in November. And at a previous council meeting, when I gave a report on that, it seemed in the council's opinion that we should try to align with the state and federal elections with the borough for both cost and voter turnout. So this ordinance does that. And it starts on page 13, and it goes through a couple of different sections because we're amending code in the city council section, the mayor section, and the section for the elections for that date. There is on page 17 of your packet just a summary of the changes that the ordinance makes. It changes the municipal election date to and this wording is from the borough and state, to the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. It changes the declaration of candidacy filing period for city office to align with that. So it changes it by 1 month from August to September. And in addition to that, we put in there for another Title II election update to provide for an appointment of a mayor pro tem, which is something that Homer does. And if you'll notice, when our mayor is absent, we generally have somebody fill in as acting mayor. And by code, our council is supposed to appoint that acting mayor. In practice, it usually ends up being our longest serving member or me asking somebody who might be willing to do it. So in Homer, they do after every election, they do by resolution or action memorandum, appoint somebody to step in that situation. So that person is clearly has that role and can be prepared if the mayor is absent to step in. And they do that once a year after the election. So I put that forward in this ordinance if council wants to go that direction, as well as changing the number of council members needed to hold a meeting in the mayor's absence from 5 to 4, which is the number of quorum. And I did find an ordinance from 2000 or December of 1999 where that change had been made, but I don't know if it never got codified or anything like that. But it does seem that as the ordinance is written now, you would have the mayor pro tem, and if the mayor pro tem or the acting mayor wasn't available and you had 4 council members, you could still go the route of appointing one of those members as acting mayor. So I guess I will, on page 18 is the original memorandum that I had written with all the considerations for changing the election date. And some of the other minor changes in the ordinance are putting in some, just changing him to more non-gendered pronouns for, as we kind of go through this code. I think it's a process that Heidi had started as well, taking that out. So I guess I will turn that over to the mayor or council for any questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that. All right. That is ordinance 26-10. We'll go ahead and bring that before council discussion. Any comments, thoughts on ordinance 26-10?
And if there are no comments at this time, I did want to bring up just one other point that I failed to mention. There was discussion in our prior meeting about moving the election venue to the school. But the Division of Elections is still working through that process with the Kenai Peninsula Borough School District. So at this time, until they work through those negotiations, it would be all those elections being in this room that we're in here, which would be not ideal, but would be capable of holding all 3 of those elections.
Okay, sounds good, Liz.
Liz, is the school the only other option we would have, or can we use other facilities? I know I remember when I was a kid, my mom always voted, it was at the church down the street because that was a building in the community that was big that could open up. Just as far as if this did seem like it was a little tight, if we had a better venue that we could look at.
So the State Division of Elections really does decide on the venue,
Okay.
and we work with them. And I don't know if Heidi has any more information on how that's worked
Okay.
in the past, but as long as I've been here, this has been the venue that the
Mhm.
state has used. And Heidi, do you know if there's been a different venue in the past? I'm not sure.
Would we be able to extend into like the library space or anything like that if I'm just thinking like if it did feel tight, just what options we would have.
The members of the library board have said that they would support that.
Okay. That
But
would be good.
I think that because we, for the borough election, would only have one person for the absentee, and that we could probably make that space work, and we would
Okay.
have to see how it worked for the first year. But there are other options that we could explore, but we'd have to ask the state if we wanted to be at the same location as them.
Yeah, I think we can make it work no matter what, but I was just curious. I wasn't sure how places are approved. And I guess my comment on this would be is it all looks really great to me from the discussions we had and being able to kind of hash it all out in one thing and be able to have our elections at the same time would be really handy. So I'm in support of it.
Thank you, Ashley. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to say that I'm in support of it as well. I mean, it also makes good financial sense.
Okay, thank you. I as well am in support of ordinance 26-10. As we had seen on page 18, there obviously if we have to go out on our own and either rent or purchase machines, there's going to be an additional substantial cost to what it costs us to do our elections now. So it does make financial sense. And I think it'll be fine having all of those elections at the same time and aligned with the borough. So I'll be in support. Jackie?
I'm in support of aligning the election. I am not in support of a quorum being 4. That's all.
Okay.
I am also in support of voting to have somebody in your absence.
Okay, so in support of the mayor pro tem.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Let's go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just clarify through the mayor that the quorum level right now is 4. It's just in the event that the mayor's absent, our code still says that it requires 5 council members to have a meeting, even though the quorum number is 4. So I just wanted to clarify that.
So, and what we wanted to do is say that we could still have a council meeting with the quorum versus having to have the additional 5th one.
Correct.
Okay, and that's what you had found actually in an ordinance a number of years back, but it never seemed to have made it into our code.
Yeah, it's on page 20 of the packet here. It's ordinance 2000-05.
I got it there. Okay.
Yeah, so you can see that. But I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you, Liz.
Huh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, it just got missed. Jackie, are you still opposed to that or are you okay with that after seeing that?
I just feel a quorum is 5 to me, not 4. I'm new at this, but I just felt like 4 is not really a meeting to me. But that's just me.
Okay. Harmony?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jackie. The 5th voice, like if we had only 4 voting members, but also had Mayor Campbell lending, contributing to the conversation, that feels less than that. Sorry. Yeah, I agree with Jackie on this point.
Okay. Any other thoughts, comments on that? Or on ordinance 26-10?
I'm on the fence.
I feel the same way that Jackie and Harmony does. I feel that you know, we have to look through a lot of different issues. There's a lot of questions we're going to have regarding like what, you know, what is the best avenue to take, and having that fifth member, I feel is, you know, just it adds to the discussion, and I think that it's important. I don't feel comfortable bringing it to 4.
Okay. So I'm just going to make a note. I'm going to try to help everybody out on this when we get to that time. 2.08.040. After our discussion, and then we'll go to the public, and then when we go ahead and make the motion to approve this, we'll make the motion, and then before we vote, what we would need is someone to just simply make an amendment. That would be the correct way? Correct me if I'm wrong, Heidi or Liz, to make an amendment to leave the on 2.08.04 to leave it at 5 instead of changing it to 4. Is that
Yes, that'd be
correct?
correct. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's the only spot where that's at, so it should be pretty straightforward.
Yes, that's the only spot. If you look a couple lines up from there, what I added in is if the mayor or mayor pro temp are unable to attend a council meeting, so that would add that mayor pro tem in. So if council would be comfortable with, you know, if there's one member missing, and it is the mayor pro tem of appointing an acting mayor,
Okay.
how that would go.
Okay, any other thoughts, comments on ordinance 26-10 before we go to public? Okay, anyone from the public that wishes to weigh in on ordinance 26-10?
I am not seeing any hands, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Go ahead and bring ordinance 26-10 back before council. First thing we would need is a motion to approve ordinance, motion and a second to approve ordinance 26-010. And if we get a motion in a second, then we will see if there's any amendments that would like to come forward. Harmony, you got your hand up?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 26-010.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Peyton to approve ordinance 26-10 with a second by Coleman. Is there any further discussion on ordinance 26-10? Now would be the time to introduce an amendment if there are any, and that would be reference to section 2.08.040 and leaving it at 5 members in total be present rather than 4 members to continue with a meeting in the absence of the mayor.
I would like to make that amendment, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry I don't have my lay down in front of me.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, we have an amendment as I had just stated that
That's a lot.
yeah, it was a mouthful. So if there's any question, we can go back on the recording, but it seems pretty clear. Essentially, taking section 2.08.040 and leaving that at 5 members instead of 4 be present to hold a meeting in the absence of the mayor. So that was made by, let's see, who made that? That was Jackie. Harmony,
Yes.
second that?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. So we have the amendment on the table. Any further discussion on the amendment before we vote? Okay, we will vote on the amendment. All those in favor, let's see here. Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
Okay, amendment passes. That'll take us back to the main motion of ordinance 26-10 as amended. Is there any further discussion on ordinance 26-10 as amended? Okay, hearing none, we will go ahead and vote on the main motion, ordinance 26-10 as amended. All those in favor, Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
and Peyton.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 6 in the affirmative, 0 opposed. That was ordinance 26-10 as amended. All right, we got out of that pretty clean. Thank you, everyone. That'll take us to item K2, ordinance 26-11, a non-code ordinance to the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, amending the fiscal year 2026 budget to provide for necessary mid-year adjustments by appropriating the remaining community assistance program funds for the general fund council for the water special revenue fund, capital projects, and and adopting a volunteer fire and EMS special revenue fund budget. That was introduced on the February 9th meeting, and we'll go ahead and let Heidi take it away.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is on page 21 of your packet. This is a typical housekeeping item to clean up some of the unanticipated expenses in the budget as we start to move through the FY27 budget process. There are still a couple outstanding items, for instance, Jackloff. When we start looking at appraisal and survey, I didn't want to put it in this one, depending on when those expenses will hit, if they're in this fiscal year or next fiscal year, as well as the comp plan. We did receive our invoice for that, and that was $10,000 from AML to help us with that, which is very decent price for a comp plan. And we have asked the Kenai Peninsula Borough to help support some of those expenses. So waiting to hear back from them. But in the meantime, some of those unanticipated expenses included and I have a memo, so I'm going to go to that on the next couple of pages here. Actually, let me find it. Sorry, my mouse is not working very well. There is a memo on page 35 that kind of gives you a little bit more detail about it. So ordinance 2611 amends the FY26 budget to appropriate the remaining $6,051 in a community assistance program funds, and then $9,997 in the MMRF unassigned funds. And so we discussed those in the work session, the unassigned funds for the shop insulation project. It also transfers $50,000 from the general fund unencumbered fund to general fund council for legal expenses. It transfers $4,092 from the MMRF water to the water special revenue fund capital projects for the dam periodic safety inspection, even though that safety inspection occurred in FY25. By the time it was approved by the state and the project was finished and we were invoiced, it was landed into FY26. So that's unfortunate because we did budget for those funds in FY25 and not in FY26, and this will remedy that. And that was the FY25 portion was from the MMRF as well, so they just won't come out of the MMRF for FY25, but they will for FY26, as well as to adopt a volunteer fire and EMS special revenue fund. We did also touch on that during the work session today. This is fund is noted every year in our audit, and it's noted that it is not budgeted for, which is fine because it's a small, a non-major fund. In fact, the majority of our special revenue funds are non-major funds. It is audited every year, and in working with staff and working with the department, I felt that it was prudent to recommend that we actually go through the budget process with the department and have them recommend or approve a budget for the department to recommend to council that you guys would adopt. Unfortunately, we weren't able to complete this process. They were going to have a meeting, an annual membership meeting last Saturday, but it was canceled for a multitude of reasons. However, I do still feel like being able to adopt an FY26 budget using what we have to date and looking at FY25 actuals will benefit in the discussion moving forward with the department for FY27. It's been quite the process to go through this, a couple of weeks of going back and forth between department administrative assistant and city finances, and overall, I think it'll just make us better moving forward. There is an update to that page for the volunteer fire and EMS special revenue, and that is in the laydown. And so I would ask that we use that one to move forward if the council adopts this in the ordinance and not the one that's in the packet in the regular packet. And with that, I guess I will leave it to council if you have any questions.
So what is the difference between the one in the laydown and the one in the regular packet?
So the one in the regular packet was early on, and we hadn't had all of the audited expenses calculated for FY25 as well as projected into FY26. So it was an early version. And we did a deep dive over the last 2 weeks, and the one in the one in the laydown is more truly reflects the actual expenses happening within that department. I feel really comfortable with that and really great about it. We have all the files together and everything matches and lines up and was moving forward in the audit. So we just didn't have it. We didn't have that internal audit piece completed when the original one was put in the packet. But now that that internal audit has completed, it should align nicely with the actual audit.
Okay. Okay, and that's pages, yeah, it looks like it's pages 4 and 5 there. Okay.
Of the laydown, yeah.
Of the laydown. Yeah, correct. Okay.
Heidi,
Okay.
do you
Go ahead.
Sorry, through the mayor. Do you know what the planned repairs and maintenance are that they have for 2026? Because there's obviously something large. I'm just curious what that is because it went up from $353 to $10,313.
Yes, that was the rest of that repeater.
Okay, cool.
And you can see it if you look at there's the note section that notes that in there.
And then obviously our training was higher for 25 because we've had a bunch of EMT trainings. Is that what that's accounting for and getting those up and going? Okay.
Correct, and also because the department is getting more used to utilizing some of those city funds that the city has offered, that the council's offered in the budget for fire and EMS. And so continuing to have those conversations with them that those are available and that they can use those instead of dipping into their special revenue funds.
Okay, perfect.
Great. Okay. I'll bring that to council for discussion on approval of ordinance 26-11.
I have a question. Is this 4,000, is this periodically or annually, or what's in sequence on How often are we
Yes.
spending that $4,000 for an inspection?
Through the mayor, excellent question. So because of our class for the dam, we have to do that every 3 years. And it's more than 4,000. We just had the rest already in the budget. I think it was 6,000 and some change, and we typically do 2/3 of it. We allocate to water and 1/3 to sewer. So sewer was able to take the additional 2,000 with their current appropriations.
So that 4,000 is for a 3-year inspection, or it's over a 3-year period?
Every 3 years, we have to have the inspection.
Every 3 years, okay.
Anyone else with questions, comments on ordinance 26-11? All right, I'll be in support of ordinance 26-11. Obviously, we have these mid-year adjustments from time to time to clean things up. I look at it more of a housekeeping item than anything. So I'll definitely be in support of ordinance 26-11. Anyone else before we move on to public? Okay, anyone in the public or online, Liz, that would like to weigh in on ordinance 26-11?
I'm not seeing any, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I'll go ahead and bring ordinance 26-11 back to council for final action.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve ordinance 26-11.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have an ordinance by Langbart to approve ordinance 26-11 with a second by Keithley. Any further discussion on ordinance 26-11 before we vote?
And Mr. Mayor, for the record, can I just clarify that that includes the laydown for version of
Yes.
the CFD?
Yes, thank you. That includes the laydown version of the audited financials. So, okay, if there's nothing else on ordinance 26-11, we'll go ahead and vote. All those in the affirmative: Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
and Payton.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 6 in the affirmative, 0 opposed, and that was the approval of ordinance 26-11. Thank you, everyone. We'll take us to item L, unfinished business, none. Item M, new business. We'll have resolution 26-15, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, awarding a contract for the design build services of the fuel retail facility improvements, roof replacement project. Hang on one second, sorry here. I got all 3 documents open here. I want to see if
In the lay down, it has the.
yeah, it's in the laydown. For the design build services of the fuel retail facility improvements, roof replacement project to Kuna Engineering. And I'm trying to scroll. Sorry.
Page 6.
Yep, got it. LLC in the amount of $269,300 and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute the appropriate documents. Heidi, I'll go ahead and let you take this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As stated, that's page 6 of the laydown. This was an extended RFP period. In the end, it did close on February 16th, and we received two responsive bids. We did a review of those bids, and Kuna Engineering was determined to be the most responsive bidder and is included in this resolution. There's also a memo regarding the resolution on page 7 of the laydown. What I didn't include, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for pointing out, is that Kuna, if you guys are familiar, and as it states in their name, is an engineering firm, and this is a design build project. Kuna is not going to be the construction crew firm that's working on the project. They included Building Specialties, Inc. as the primary contractor for this project. They're out of Anchor Point. We did do a reference check for them. They actually did the work on the new facility for SVT in Anchor Point, and they did the work on Land's End. And they have a great website if you go to it and look at them. Spoke with Kuna. We had some questions. They were able to clarify, and they provided some additional information. But overall, after checking references and having further discussion with Kuna, feel pretty good about them being able to move ahead with this project. You will see in that memo under the project budget where those funds come from. So we did receive a community development block grant for $241,557, and it looks like that should be a comma and not a period. And then we had Resolution 2250 from council that committed $42,493 in matching cash funds, because that was part of the CDBGs. We had to have a 20% match. So we have a portion of that 20% match as cash funds. And then a portion of the funds, $38,035 is in-kind contributions. That's going to include staff time, storage, for the staging and storage for the project. We did include in the RFP that the rental of equipment to access the roof would be on the responsibility of the city. So that's included as a city portion, disposals on their side. And if this is approved by the city council, we look forward to moving ahead and signing that contract with Kuna, as well as making sure everything is approved by the community development block grant. The timeline for this project right now is that the engineering would be completed through the summer, and the project would be completed in September, which is a little bit later than we desired, and then later, of course, than the tenants desired. They did have a chance to review these proposals and are aware of our recommendation. And otherwise, I'll leave it up to council if you have any questions. We also included Resolution 2550 in this laydown, showing that commitment of funds and the intent to award.
Thank you, Heidi. Quick question. Okay, so the project budget's 322. It probably has something to do with the matching funds. We are awarding this for 269.
Yes. Good
Go
question.
ahead.
Sorry, if you don't mind me
No,
jumping in.
no, go
We
ahead.
did.
That was their bid, obviously.
That was their bid, and we did include in the RFP that there was a potential that new purlins were going to be required for the project. Their bid did not include the price for they included the price for the purlins separate. So after they do the engineering, if we need to include those purlins, we'll have to negotiate and do an amendment to the contract to put those back into the scope of the project. But I anticipate, after having two well-versed contractors go through that building with me, that will probably be the case.
Okay, so the bottom line is we still have about 52,000 in our budget then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and some of that's administration, but we've eaten those costs before as administration because we just want the projects to get done. But there is a piece in there for administration as well.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we didn't have zero in there. So we're in the good then. Okay, perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and open up 26-15 to council for any questions or comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I need to declare that I have a substantial financial interest in this project due to my employment by Seldovia Fuel and Lube, and I ask to be excused from the vote on the matter.
Okay, yeah, you are excused from the vote. You can still participate in the discussion though.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Obviously, I am going to be in support of resolution 26-15. So we've had a number of, this has been going on for quite a while and long process, but we owe this to our tenants to get this roof fixed once and for all and do it correctly. So it'll be nice to see this finally come to fruition and get done. So I'll be in support. Anyone else on resolution 26-15? Harmony?
Yeah, I also have a familial interest in the project proposed as a direct family member of the tenants, but I also agree that it seems reasonable, even, before they owned the business, this roof has been an issue for quite a while, and I think that they've been pretty good tenants overall. So I think it seems reasonable to maintain our infrastructure if we can afford it.
Okay, are you declaring a direct conflict or no?
I'll declare a conflict for the vote. I'll lend my opinion as a discussionary topic.
Okay. I think you are, I mean, we went through this once before. I don't think you were conflicted last time. I don't actually see, Liz or Heidi jump in here, but I don't see a direct conflict in this with you voting on this.
Right. Marcy is my mother-in-law, so it's like one six, half dozen or the other on who you were talking to and how they consider the conflict. With
Right.
5 other people to vote or 4 other people to vote, if they need a tiebreaker, I'll vote. But if I don't have to, maybe don't.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
it does specify in statute and in Seldovia Municipal Code that the conflict of interest is a substantial financial conflict. So if you're receiving any kind of financial support, that would be a financial interest. If not, and the mayor wants to rule against that, then it would be up to the council. Either way, how you can declare it as a council member, anybody can. It's up to the mayor as a reminder to rule one way or the other. If he rules against it, then the council can, or for it, either way, the council can make a vote to override the mayor's ruling. Otherwise, the mayor's ruling stands. So just a reminder of that's how that process works.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder on that, Heidi. Yeah, I mean, as you stated, I don't think, I mean, it's hard in a small town not to be related to somebody. So, yeah, and in this case, I don't think it rises to the level of major financial.
Yeah, they're not giving me any dividends for being related.
Correct. You don't get any brownie points for that. So, unless you're really hell bent on it, I'd like you to participate in the vote. So I look
good.
at
I'm
this
in support.
I look at this as fairly non-controversial. So, all right, thank you. Let's see. Anyone else on resolution 26-15 before we go to public? Jackie?
I have one question to Heidi. So we have the 50,000 we're responsible for. What about the back wall? Is that going to fall on the city to reconstruct if there's an issue? I mean, I'm all for putting a new roof on, but if the back wall's falling off, I find it kind of unconstructive. So is something going to be done with the back wall, and is that going to fall on the city to?
So through the mayor, excellent question. In the past, when we had a CDBG, we were able to use the portion of the project that the city financed as the match. So that is a discussion I'm going to be having with this of course occurred after we had the grant fund and award in
Yeah.
place and we were in the process for the project. My hope is to have that discussion with the community development block grant program, be able to determine that we can do that. Regardless whether we can or can't, we still need to be able to fix that. We need to come up with those funds. So either being able to use the CDBG or appropriating them separately from the budget, and then being able to the next part of the discussion is talking to the engineering firm and the contractor and seeing if they can do that portion of the work along with the project, even if it's not CDBG funds, or if it is and we're paying it. Does that make sense? Like making
Yes,
sure
it
that's
does.
included in the project.
It does. Thank you.
So I
Yeah,
just so I'm clear, hang on one second, Jack. Just so I'm clear, the report on that was that something there during that last windstorm, some of the sheeting had one or two sheets or something had come loose and either bent or blown off or whatever. Is it worse than that or?
Yes, yeah. So the whole southwest corner, that back panel that faces the city building, is loose on the bottom. It just has rusted away, so there's nothing that's lagging it into the cement, into the footer, and the top is loose as well. And so it needs some additional work, whether it's repaneled, the panels themselves, are in all right condition, but certainly where they secure to the building is not as great. So having that be part of the engineering for the project and the inspection and making that determination on how to move forward is the desire.
So did the fasteners actually did they just rot out from the salt water? Yeah, I would expect that. So so it's just there's typically a bottom angle and a top angle there that you connect those panels to. So that should be relatively as long as the slab's still in good shape, it should be relatively painless to just drill into the footer there and get a new piece of galvanized bent plate on there and then do that. So I mean, I would think for $1,000 or $1,500 or something, you'd be able to take care of that. So it should be relatively minor in my opinion. I have to take a look at it, but Jack, maybe you've gone down there and taken a look at that. I'm not sure.
I guess what was the cost? 200 and some thousand to put the roof on?
Yeah, it's 260.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm somewhat uncomfortable is, are we doing a Band-Aid approach on an old building and it's going to end up being incremental seduction as we go on down the road with this thing? Or, what kind of a fix are we getting for 200 and some thousand?
We're getting a new roof.
Yeah, I understand
Come
that.
on, you know that. You know that answer. We're getting a new roof.
You know where I'm going with the question.
I know exactly where you're going with it. We need about a couple, $2-3 million bucks for a new fancy maintenance shop.
It's an old building.
It is. It is.
They're all old buildings, Jack.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at, Jack, is the tricky part is we have a business, in a large business in there, and in order to be looking at redoing a whole building, that's a whole another can of worms of how do you handle moving that business, or the time it would be that they would be out of business that we'd be responsible for.
They do it every day, Ashley.
But not in a small town, Jack.
Yeah. That's so I'm not saying that, those discussions haven't been had, but I think that this was an opportunity that we came across to be able to get the grant. This is kind of the history of the grant, to put the Band-Aid on to help us out to move forward for right now.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's interested in spending a couple $1 million to rehab this building.
Right.
If we're going to do that, we're going to go for a new building. Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the structure of the building is still good from what my understanding of the actual frame is good. So we are looking in the CIP at a phased approach, fixing the roof because that's the immediate need, and then potentially in the future, replacing the panels on the outside of that building, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, that I don't think there was anything wrong with the structure, and I think that'll probably be proofed out when we have the engineering done. So,
I
all right.
agree. I was just thinking putting all that money into a roof, let's not lose the backside of the building. So,
Hopefully not in the next couple days. I was in there last week in the last storm, and me, Nicole, and Marcia, and we called Josh to come because there was a couple really scary sounds that happened, and she didn't go. None of us would go outside, but she went in the back and said, "Well, there's still a roof and the walls on there, so we're good."
that's good.
Yeah, it needs some love here with this
It
wind
does.
for sure. All right. Well, yeah, no, I understand. I mean, no one wants to keep sinking money into a sinking ship, but we need to fix what we've got. We owe that to our tenants, and then if we're going to look at a newer long-term solution, we need to talk about that as a whole nother project. So, anyone else on 26-15 before we go to public? Okay, anyone from the public that wishes to weigh in on resolution 26-15?
I'm not seeing any, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll bring it back to council for final action on approval of resolution 26-15. I will look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 26-15 as written.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Keith Lee to approve resolution 26-15 with a second by Taylor. Any further discussion before we vote? All right, we'll go and vote on the approval of resolution 26-15. All those in favor, Barber,
Aye.
Keith Lee,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
How many this time?
oh, sorry. Yes, you were conflicted out. Taylor,
Aye.
Peyton.
Aye.
All right, we have 5 in the affirmative, none opposed, 1 conflicted, duly noted, 1 very sour affirmative in Jack Barber.
Thank you.
So, duly noted. All right, last item of the evening. Item M2, resolution 26-16, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Seldovia, Alaska, directing the Seldovia Planning Commission to complete a comprehensive zoning review, sponsored by Barber and Coleman. Would anyone care to make a statement? Jackie?
I would like to make a statement.
Sure.
And not to bring in executive session in our last meeting, but I just want to point out the reasons that I came to council. I was interested in making a difference. I'm not influenced by anybody, and I find it insulting that people think that we're all here to pad Jack Barber, let's just say his name, Spocket, and vote. So I have no real interest in the Martin case. I'm not that familiar with it. I was told by the city manager when I signed on for council that of the situation. And yeah, I'm open for both sides to hear what's happening. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Jackie.
Through the mayor, maybe it will help if we have a little staff report on this.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. So, and if I'm speaking out of turn, Councilmember Barber or Councilmember Coleman, please let me know. This is a direction to the Seldovia Planning Commission. They already have it on their work plan, but I think this is a little bit firmer, and that this is something that the council wants accomplished in the near future, to do a comprehensive review of all of the zoning in the city of Seldovia. This comes from even prior to at least the 2014 comprehensive plan, where that was included in there to do a zoning review. And so it also came up in the draft comprehensive plan that's occurring at this moment and almost finalized. So this is something that the public brought up, as well as Councilmember Barber and Councilmember Coleman, and speaking with them, the desire to move forward as requested by the public. And even staff has noted some issues with zoning regards to commercial districts that are being utilized as residential. They have longstanding conditional use permits in order to allow that. And then also our school and shop are sitting in residential zoning, which may or may not be, something that happens in other communities. But really, overall, the desire is to look at each zone by zone, and make an assessment in order to determine if the zoning is still applicable. My recommendation to council would be, if you want to move in this direction, to include a third party like we did for the comprehensive plan. And knowing that this was on the agenda, we've already started this conversation with Alaska Municipal League, and they are looking at a scope of work. If that's a direction that the Planning Commission and Council wants to go. And like I said, it's already on the Seldovia Planning Commission's work plan for 2026, but this just moves it up a little bit more to the forefront. So if this is approved by the council, it would go to the Seldovia Planning Commission. Their next meeting is March 4th, and with that direction to move forward with the comprehensive zoning review of the entire city of Seldovia.
Thanks, Heidi. Appreciate that. Jackie, okay, you had your hand up there. I wasn't sure if that was the old one. All right, fantastic. Yeah, I like where this is headed. As you guys know, yeah, there was a number of meetings that were held with at planning and zoning, and as well with the city council. There's been talks of spot zoning, all kinds of different things came up during that process. So I think this is a good plan, much needed. It's in line with our comprehensive plans. Makes a lot of sense to just look at this globally instead of piecemeal. So, yep. So that's where we're at. So we'll go ahead and open it up to questions, comments. Jackie, I see your hands up.
Yes, and I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I just, as a new council member, I would like to reinvestigate. I have some questions in our conversation in executive meeting.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I would just like to say thank you too for bringing this forward. This is definitely something, as Mr. Mayor said, is a global approach that when we had an issue with zoning come up is where I had stepped in my mind first went when I saw with the comp plan not being updated and not realizing it had been this long since the zoning had officially been looked at, and looking at that zoning map and seeing how Seldovia has evolved and having it be part of that whole plan. And I think having a third party come in to help take a look at, where do we want Seldovia to go? It's very different than a larger city, but we need to have a plan, because without our zoning matching a plan that we're trying to reach, there's really disastrous things that can happen. And I can say from some of the numbers that we've got when we've been looking through some of this as far as like our demographics, whether it's age-wise in our community, houses that are occupied versus non-occupied. These are all things that having that third party look at to really help us look at our zones and be able to utilize our space where it can encourage whatever growth it is that we're looking to have so that we don't become a dying community is going to be very important. I know my little area up there, which, you know, probably was my neighbor, and we're industrial, which, I mean, it had kind of that feel, and I've been trying to lighten it up because we didn't, that would be one spot where it's important to have industry, but it's like, besides like coffee shop and a bed and breakfast, like that's the industry. It's not really like the industry that was intended. So I think this is a great nudge and a great idea, and I'm excited to see where it will go.
Yeah, Ashley, I agree. What I'd hate to see happen to us is based on existing zoning is that we're on a downhill slide, and times have changed, and you know we need to adapt to that and change things as the future comes up on us, and I think it's the right thing in business to do this.
It is, and especially on a broad approach because it's been so long. And if any of us look at it, when I started to look at the zoning, that's where initially I was like, oh, this needs to be like everything, because I think my words that are probably quoted in the minutes is we could be opening up a can of worms here with what we were working through before, because I saw other things that were noted in the comp plan or zone not being followed. Then like if all these other folks come forward, we as a city wouldn't have the ability to even appease all the requests. And so I think this is going to be really important on a lot of fronts.
Yeah, agreed. I like where we're headed with that. Anyone else on resolution 26-16 before we go to public? Okay, Liz, anyone from the public that wants to weigh in?
Let me look down. No, we don't, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll bring resolution 26-16 back to council for final action. And I will look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 26-16 as written.
And I will go ahead and second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion by Keithley to go ahead and approve resolution 26-16, second by Langbart. Any further discussion on resolution 26-16 before we vote? Hearing none. All right, we'll go ahead and vote on the approval of resolution 26-16. All those in favor, Barber,
Aye.
Keithley,
Aye.
Langbart,
Aye.
Coleman,
Oh, Jack.
Aye.
Taylor,
Aye.
and Peyton.
Aye.
All right, motion is enthusiastically approved with a vote of 6 in the affirmative, none opposed. All right, thank you, everyone. That will make its way to planning. And that brings us to item N, our city manager's report, and that's in the laydown. Heidi, it's all you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, you know, as usual, there's been quite a bit of movement on several different avenues, starting with our ongoing grants and project list, with the Jackloff Bay Dock Replacement Project. The city was, as we mentioned before, awarded an FY26 CDS appropriation. We got our welcome letter. This is going to be another second tranche of PIDP funds. So I'm hoping that because they have the same requirements as the existing PIDP, we can use the process we've already been in, and of course the NEPA we've already gone through in order to access those funds. That's an additional $482,000 for that project, which we may or may not need at this time. We asked both the Denali Commission and for a CDS appropriation. We received both, and that puts us in a really good place because a lot of time has gone by and we don't know what inflation is going to do to that project. In addition, it's going to take a year to a year and a half or more in order for that second set of PIDP funds to be made available, so that hopefully that if we need it, we will be able to timely go through that process and have it towards the end of the project. Jackloff Uplands application update. I did sign the entry authorization and submitted it. So we're still waiting for that signed copy back from DNR. Once we receive that back, we do have plans to quickly, well, maybe not quickly, but effectively move into the initial phase of cleanup. Already in discussion with the harbor master, city clerk, and public works. I think there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm to be able to make some change out there. I heard maybe like have a little party. I don't know. We'll see. But the hopes is to get some of the vehicles and debris out that we can get out initially, as well as to do the survey, the appraisal, and that phase 1 study. So looking forward to making some progress there. The raw water transmission line, we're still waiting for the University of Alaska to sign the easement. They said that last week that it was going to be there last week. I know it's getting really close to the end, so hopefully we'll see it this week. We will present a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign that easement once we receive it from the University of Alaska. So I'd expect that on the next agenda, if not the one after. Hopefully not too late, because we're hoping to have that project actually start in May. And right now we've moved from 65, we're moving into 95 with the intent of being able to move that line into the right of way. With the fuel facility improvements, we already just had that discussion, so I won't go any further with that. Some of the other things are just kind of holding steady. If you go down to project 15, I know we discussed the radios and just wanted to make sure that we're keeping track on there, that there is going to be a new project funding period, a new grant period, and we did get great comments and feedback back. There was not a lot that needed to be changed on the application, but we did receive what those concerns were, and so we can update that language and resubmit. And for the hydrology and wetlands assessment, we did receive word back that that was also not awarded, which was really unfortunate. But we also received great comments from that, and the application process, the pre-application, it just opened. It closes March 31st, and I'm already hearing from our partners with KB NER, the University of Southeast Florida, and the University of Anchorage, Alaska, that they are still on board and would still love to help see this project come through. So we will begin that process to resubmit for that project. Also down to project 25, just making sure that we are keeping this document up to date and including that replacement backhoe as part of the AML heavy equipment bundle on here. So those are some additional awarded funds and match that have been incorporated into the total at the bottom, even though I will point out that these are approximates at this time. We did submit for 199,000 and some change for this equipment, according to a quote we had last year. Of course, things change, and from what I'm understanding initially from AML, there's like a negotiation process that we'll go through with them for obtaining this equipment, and I'm guessing it'll include a new quote, and we'll talk through what that looks like. We also are, as part of that agreement, it's a 25% match. So that is something for council to keep in mind. Of course, before we move forward, we'll have council approve and authorize that, as well as to appoint some funds if that is the direction that council wants to go. But it's pretty exciting to have those funds at least available. And then another project that is a grant opportunity that we're working on is the REBEEP. So we have REBEEP funds right now for the city office and shop building. We're almost done with that project. We just have a couple more windows to install and some thermostats and new registers. We want to go apply in the next round of REVEEP, which closes at the end of this week, for new siding for the multipurpose building, which is in the CIP as a priority for the council. And that's a great fit for this type of funding, and maybe we can add some siding on because we've got some holes starting to poke through in a couple spots of that building. Any questions on those projects so far before I move into just other activities?
Any questions, comments?
If not, I'll keep going. Other projects and activities, as you can see, I am not in Seldovia. I'm in Anchorage right now. There was a management, it's going to focus on HR, but it's overall management training that was offered by Alaska Public Risk Alliance, who is our insurance company. They have a week-long charting the course public entity risk management seminar with different opportunities available. So Harbor Master Layla Jant Peterson is also up here with me. She's going to be doing the OSHA training for the next 2 days. I'm going to be doing the management training. The seminar is free, and we do get 2 nights lodging reimbursed per individual. So this was a great opportunity for us to continue on our just ensuring safety overall in the city, as well as I know that was a desire of the council to see continued training, and HR management is really near and dear to my heart, as well as your guys's. Comprehensive plan draft update. I felt like it's been forever since our last piece of work on this plan, but it was only a month ago. I was reminded of that at the end of last week. We are still, AML is still compiling the comments that were received at the meeting that was held in January on the draft plan. We only received 1 additional public comment outside of the meeting. I am tasked with going through and finishing a final review and making sure that the notes from that comment are incorporated into the plan itself. It was just a couple of really good like typos and like little things like what does this acronym mean and what does that acronym mean, and one thing that didn't make sense. So it was really great feedback. I really appreciate receiving that. So I'm gonna go through it. Britta from AML is gonna go through it, and we're actually gonna meet in person in Anchorage on Wednesday for one final review, and then send that out to the editor so that it can go to the Planning Commission at their March 4th meeting next week. And if they approve it, then that will move forward to the council for adoption. Well, SVFD update, I did touch on the fact that the annual membership meeting was postponed. They plan to have discussion items on their election of officers, the FY26 and FY27 budget, new logo selection, and membership incentive opportunity. I want to make sure that to bring this forward to council because this might pique your interest. They're looking at offering Guardian flight subscriptions to their members as an incentive. It's $110 a person. In speaking with Guardian, they said they have 2 types of plans. One is, or they can do it 2 ways. One is where all the volunteers fill out individual application, and then the department submits those, and the members get the card, and it's their card, and that's what they have. The other option is if the city and it's the same price either way, if the city wants to include their employees, then they'll do a group plan where instead of every member having to fill out an application, there's a spreadsheet, and the city has each individual just fill out a line on the spreadsheet. And then we submit the spreadsheet. It's the city's plan instead of all the individual little plans. And then we're updating and amending it and taking care of it as we need to on the city side. There has been some discussion in the office about that, and It seems like there is a desire from employees to have that. And even considering the fact that that could be something that's offered to some of our other volunteers, like our council and planning commission. So I don't know if that's something that you guys are interested in. It would, of course, need to be a budgetary item, but it's not a very expensive one, and it's kind of a neat perk. Thoughts, feedback? Is that something you guys would like to see?
Yeah, and Heidi, I just wanted to clarify because I looked into that a little further, and those are household memberships, correct? That's how I read the line
Correct.
item. And so that even piqued my interest more because when we've been talking about, this, like you mentioned, on whether it's employees or volunteers and ways that we can incentivize that's equal and doesn't hurt our budget and that is valuable to everybody. And I don't see anybody who would say that it's not valuable to have a life flight subscription paid for you. And when it's for your whole household, I think that's even more bang for your buck. Because I want to say it was like $108 per person that you're signing up, but it's for their household, which is all that, spouses and children. So I think it would be great for us to look at as a budget item, as an incentive and a perk. Because I'll honestly say, I actually then was talking to Chris about even as like, I was like, this is something like for us, for our seasonal people that we have here, because it's also beneficial. My mind went to, because we pay it for just Chris and I call it a benefit to ourselves, but for whether it's the city and the employees and those of us that are here, or myself and my business doing that for those that I employ, if something happens, I mean, it's only going to make it harder on that person, and you're going to miss out on them even more when they then have the financial hardship if they don't have that. So I think I really like the idea.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great idea. And we did have one of our employees life flighted out with a ruptured appendix 2 years ago. So, yeah, I know firsthand because I was freaking out about that. So, yeah, it'd be a great idea. I think we should investigate further for sure.
Can I just say that as both an employee and a volunteer, that I love this idea.
Yeah, completely adore this idea as well. I think we should pursue it. I do kind of think the group idea makes a lot more sense. It just seems like a lot less going into it than having each person fill out an individual application. And the spreadsheet seems to make sense to me, but again, I don't know that much about it yet. So that's just my first impression.
I
Okay.
mean, yeah, as a volunteer for over 10 years, that sounds like a great perk.
And as you can see, there would be some crossover. So really, I mean, some people you'd be given one membership and it would be on both sides. So overall, I haven't done the math for what would include the employees, but if I think it was for the department itself, it was like 2,100. It was not terrible. So to add employees and other volunteers, if we want to, we can have that discussion moving forward and look forward to that opportunity. Okay.
Good, thanks, Heidi.
Also on the city manager report, the public works update, we did talk about the city water connection that was frozen. And I know you guys heard from that property owner under public comment. We also talked a little bit about the groundwater that's ponding and backing up on Airport Avenue and C Street, and that there's also a sewer connection that's out of order that may be related to the recent water main break that happened on Vista Avenue. So Public Works is keeping really busy and just trying to actually keep everything flowing through the city. And with this freeze, I think it would be prudent of us to put out a notice, just reminding people to watch their pipes and run water if they need to run water. Not that we normally like to encourage that, but it's definitely that cold. Those long cold snaps are wreaking havoc on our system. So we'll make sure to do that first thing in the morning. Public and agency notice for Seldovia Seaweed Aquatic Farm Site is included in this packet. If the council would like to submit a formal agency comment, please let us know, and we can write something up and have a discussion on that by the council. We also did provide a letter of permission to a local business to hook up their seafood processing into our wastewater system with the intent that they would have catchment strainers on all the drains, and we wouldn't to prevent fish chunks and particles from entering. We had a little bit of back and forth. Certainly, Arwa had some consternation about it, and there is a permitting process through ADEC for seafood processors. I did contact ADC, and they said that we could provide that permission with a letter, and which we did do, knowing that we want to make sure that we keep an eye on this moving forward. Just because of the monitoring for potential impact, because it sounds like in some areas in the state it's been known to cause that. So going on good faith with that business owner and ensuring that the system is protected and just making sure that we monitor any impacts moving forward. Tsunami warning update that language is being updated. We did a nice Facebook post about that, and if you want more information, there's a link there. There's also, I believe I mentioned this before, a rural health transformation program that's open now. It's a quick notice, a timeline. There's lots of money available, and it's really broad. And quite frankly, I have not wrapped my head around it. So that is a goal this week, to start really digging into what that means. We talked about maybe updating some of the EMS equipment, again, radios and smart boards and some things to provide better service in the community. We've heard mention that maybe it could be used for pool funding for a community program. I know Randy Sweet has brought that to our attention, and certainly interested in seeing that. So just really I've been in a few discussions with organizations all across the Kenai Peninsula Borough, as well as across the state. And I think there's a lot of flexibility, and people are really just kind of trying to work out what that looks like and how to partner with each other to make good proposals. So we're still in that process. Unfortunately for us, AML did not receive funding for their Safe Streets for All action bundle. In speaking with our grant writer, we're still looking at other methods to leverage funding for demonstration or implementation of some of these transportation projects that are in the CIP. The Denali Commission also offers technical assistance, so that may be something that we can go for. Or our grant writer mentioned potentially even writing a safety action plan in-house. So we're still trying to look through those steps. We definitely want to be ready, because we anticipate that the state of Alaska will open their community transportation program and their transportation alternatives program this year. And those are probably the best, most applicable pots of funding if we want to look at some boardwalk funding opportunities, like repairing our existing boardwalk or implementing some new boardwalks, doing even the planning portion of those. So we want to make sure that we are fully ready for those opportunities when they become available. Housing needs assessment was a priority of the City Council for FY26. We did put in a technical assistance request with the Minnesota Housing Partnership. It sounds weird, but they're already doing one for the Denali Borough and already working in the state, and it's something that they do across, I guess, the country. And so we have that in. City Clerk Diamond submitted that last week. Thank you, Liz. And additionally, KPED emailed out a draft of a Kenai Peninsula Region housing assessment, which was fairly broad at this point, but it does include each city. And they stated that was phase 1 and 2, and the next phase will actually include municipal plans. So some opportunities to work with a few entities moving forward to get that housing needs assessment completed. KB Nerd. Yes.
Can I ask a question? Because I was excited to see that assessment they emailed out, and I read through it, and I was curious as I'm looking at when they're able to give numbers on like how much the average sale price of like how much the average cost of a home is and how many homes have been sold. How do they get their numbers? Because I know that one thing that was interesting moving to Alaska and buying a home up here and finding out that I did not have to legally report the sale of my home as far as the cost to the borough, and hence why you go on Zillow and you can't see the prices like you can anywhere else. You can go and see all the sales, exactly how much people put it up for and how much it sold for. And so I'm really curious because as I was looking through many of the areas, the numbers just seem off. And I was wondering if that's why, because it's not actually an accurate full picture. Like it had said that in 2024, we only had 5 home sales or 2024. And I could be wrong, but I know this last year, I feel like there was more than that. It seemed much lower than what I feel has occurred.
Through the
But
mayor, excellent feedback. I am not sure. I will ask. I know that
Okay.
I've heard that mentioned in other industries and other discussions that
Yeah.
it is difficult because unless people self-report,
Yes.
that information isn't there. So I will reach
Okay.
out to KPED and ask how they
Yeah,
receive
because
that
if we're
information.
doing our own, our assessment, because they had, our one page, which they also said that they didn't know how many of the homes were actually empty, as far as, and that goes. But I think it also said like the average sale price of a home was, it was like around $200,000 or 225. And all I know is I'm like, I don't know what home has sold for that much since I've lived here. So it's I just kind of was a little ding ding, like this is not seeming accurate. And I know we really want it to be accurate to be able to make good decisions.
Thank you for that feedback. It's on my list. It was on my list for today, but with the presentation and everything else for the work session, it didn't happen. But it is on my list this week I did briefly review the plan, and I did catch that. But I haven't had a chance. I wanted to read, kind of just read the Seldovia section, to be
Yeah.
frank.
I
I wanted to
I
read the
started
whole
it and then I
plan.
went to Seldovia.
Would read the whole plan and provide some really great feedback. So I
Okay.
will include that comment, and if anybody else has any comments, please let me know, and I will include that back to KPED.
Awesome. Thank you.
Ashley, are you talking about Zillow's prices?
I'm talking, as far as like when I lived back in Washington, I could go
Mhm.
on there and I could, it would have like the how much your house is worth based on home sales around you. But up here you can't even
Mhm.
really get that because you don't have to self-report. Where down there it's required. So every time a house is sold, put on the market, anything, all of that is all data in there. And so
Mhm.
you can go back and look. And that's when I was coming up here to buy something. I'm like, whoa, I can't do my normal research. This is weird. I don't know what anything is worth.
Right. I know they are lower than they should be, personally.
Hmm.
So, Mr. Mayor, just a few more things then. KB Nair did receive a grant for the Sustainable Salmon funding, or funding for Sustainable Salmon Project, which includes a 3-year assessment of salmon and their habitat in Seldovia, as well as a couple of other areas in Kachemak Bay. They're looking forward to coming over, I think, in September and presenting on that, and just really seeing, they want to know what the priorities are for the council and the community in that research. So looking forward to working with them on that. We did receive our FY27 Community Assistance Program funding estimates as well as the population estimates, which those two are connected. The CAP funds is based on our population estimates, and those are in the packet. It's holding pretty steady, or in the laydown, I should say. And as you know, the FY25 audit is underway. Lastly, upcoming council, we have business includes some of these work sessions for the budget, looking at having at the next before the next meeting, or we can split them if the council prefers for us to split them and have standalone work sessions. But certainly diving a little bit further into the budget in regards to the general fund and those upcoming expenses, special revenue funds, and capital projects. It's a little hard right now because we're still waiting on some of the tax assessment figures and the insurance figures, and even the February CIP. To inform the budget, but certainly want to make sure that we're not waiting till the bitter end to have these discussions. But I guess I just say, let me know if there's anything else you want included, especially early on, because it's easier to add things on early on than later. And if you have a preference for continuing to have the meetings before the meeting like we did tonight, or as standalone at a different time in the week. And everything else I believe you've seen. So be here for questions, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sounds good, Heidi. Yep, plenty to talk about. Any questions, any more questions, comments from council? Okay, hearing none. Move on. Thanks, Heidi, for that report. Obviously, a lot of information there. Item O, informational items not requiring action, none. Item P, executive session, none. Item Q, council and mayor comments concerning items not on the agenda. Let's see, Barber. Any comments, Jack?
No comments.
Okay, Keithley,
No comment.
Langbart. Meg, anything? Okay, Coleman,
No comment.
Taylor,
I'm good.
and Peyton.
I've got a comment.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hi, we're Seldovia Bay Seaweed. We've been applying for this permit since 2017. We've been going through the growing pains with the state. We've put it on hold a couple of times for personal things, but this is as far as it's come so far. We've gotten a lot of people reaching out after their mailer to express support, which is super exciting. There's also been some very reasonable questions about its location and some confusion on how to read the map. I think most people are able to look that up, but just in case there's any question here or you guys want to take it forward, that the site will be in the bay towards Powder Island. The growing season is essentially a winter season. It's pulled out really early in the year, even before tourist season, so it doesn't impede any of our set fishing. It doesn't cross paths with set fishermen anyways, but it doesn't have an impact on either daily or commercial life as it exists in Seldovia Bay. It would be a local product. I don't know, whatever, all the things. Obviously, I'm emotionally and financially invested in the venture and super excited to say that out loud.
Okay, sounds good. More to
So
come,
happy for
I'm
you,
sure.
Harmony.
What's that?
Oops.
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, did you have something, Ahmad?
I just want to say that I'm so happy for you guys. It's a great project.
Yeah, kudos, Harmony.
Yeah,
Thanks, we're so excited.
looking forward to hearing a little more about it. So, all right. Let's see. Yeah, nothing for me tonight. Next meeting is going to be a regular meeting scheduled for Monday, March 9th, 2026. And I will look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
We have
A second.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn with a second. Any objections? Hearing none, we are adjourned. All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate
night.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Good night, you guys.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.